Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of 14.7 to 1 Racing Network. Today we are going to be working on number 69 racing lawnmower, doing a full once-over on the chassis. Going to be pulling the fenders, seat, wheels, everything off of it. Going to be oiling the bearings, checking everything over, checking all my chains, checking all my bearings, checking every piece of my steering. I want to do a full nut and bolt check across the entire thing and make absolutely sure that we're not going to have any problems this season coming up, so I can bring you guys the absolute best content possible. So, stick along for the ride and see how much stuff I broke last season. So let's just jump right into getting these wheels off and see how the bearings are looking all the way around it. Okay, so it appears that all of the bearings in the front are looking pretty good. All the steering parts are looking pretty good. Our next order of business is to remove that fuel tank so I can get at the bolts on the fender nice and easy, and we will remove the fender and the seat and get both of the back wheels off. So this is our secondary chain here that was giving us all those problems during the season, kept coming off. Originally we thought it was the tensioner. It didn't turn out to be the tensioner. The tensioner has not caused us any issues. Then we thought maybe the axle was flexing towards the jack shaft, or the jack shaft was flexing towards the axle. So what Riker Racing did, was put a girdle in that comes all the way from the back bumper to that axle, forward to the jack shaft, and there's a bearing on the jack shaft. Nothing can move. The chain was still coming off. So, what I believe is happening, and I have no way of confirming this other than to change things and see what fixes it, and possibly put a GoPro back here so we can see what's going on. I believe that the chain is hitting the ground. I think the tire's squishing down, chain's hitting the ground because it hangs just a little bit below the frame, and then I believe the track's actually knocking my chain off. So, how do we fix that? What we're going to do is make some gearing changes up front on the clutch. So back here, we can go from a 44 tooth, which is what it currently is, a little bit smaller, to a 41 tooth back here. That should allow us a little more clearance down here, so I can let some air out of that tire and we can hook up a little better. Because my options last season were either put a bunch of air in that tire and then the tires spin the entire way around the track, or let air out of that tire, chain hits the ground, chain comes off, ends the race. Not a very good option for me either way, but we chose to just spin the back tires because that was the safer option for the whole setup. This year, we're going to see if we can lower that gear so we can lower the pressure in that tire, so we can lower the track times on the recorder that's going to be right in there. Just some small safety upgrades I want to make. All of the bolts in the steering are all going to be changed to grade 8 bolts with lock nuts on them. They all have lock nuts on them now, they're just grade 5 bolts. I know the grade 5 will be just fine for what we're doing, but I want to switch everything to grade 8 just to make absolutely sure. And this is our biggest safety upgrade here. We're switching to a better locking style of quick release. That's going to make my steering wheel more secure, but still be able to come off when I want it to, so I can get out of the machine nice and easy because it is tight in there with the steering wheel on. So that's our biggest safety upgrade. Okay, we are back at it today. It is Sunday. I apologize for it being 2 weeks since you guys have seen a video. Just been a little bit busy getting prepared for my advanced drone flight review. So what we've got to do on number 69 today is to take apart the steering shaft so Riker Racing can go ahead and throw that hub on it for me. We have to see if we can track down the issue with the driveline. Seems like we got a bit of a wobble somewhere. Not sure where right now, so we'll go ahead and figure that out. As for the rear sprocket, as of right now, I am waiting for parts on that. Like I said earlier in the video, dropping down to a 41 tooth on the back, so we are just waiting for that sprocket to come in, and we'll toss that on there. So the first order of business will be to get this steering knuckle off of here, and then I believe there's going to be a snap ring in here, and the steering shaft should just slide at the top. And he will be able to weld the new hub on, just like so. First, this retaining nut comes off. Give that a little bit of a crank. Might have to spin that boy out. She came out, no problem. U-joint came out, no problem, perfect. I will give this a very good close-up inspection, make sure the flats in here are all good. Not gonna have any steering problems this season. And we'll see what we have to do to get that shaft out of there. The shaft just comes out. Look at that, I didn't expect that to be that easy. Very glad it was. And we will send this off to Riker Racing to have the new hub put on it. I'll give you guys a close-up of the reason that I'm changing the hub and why it's safer the way I'm going. So the reason we are changing the steering hub is actually twofold. Here you'll see there is one deep groove cut in there, and then all the way around there's just some small grooves cut in there that actually grab a set of ball bearings inside here that get released when you pull that handle up. The problem is you're relying on a very small chunk of metal, and you can see it's been digging into that chunk of metal. You're relying on a very small corner of metal to hold your steering wheel on. And as you can see, it takes, if I can get it to focus here, it takes a fair chunk of wear on those corners, and I believe that that is liable to make my steering wheel slip off. So I will go ahead and show you how the new one works. But the second reason that we're switching the hub over is because these bolts, no matter how much super red Loctite I put on them and how tight I made them, they insist on coming out. I believe the threads have started to pull out of the hub itself. Nothing we can do about that other than possibly rethread it, but we're hucking that hub in the garbage and going to the new one that I will show you right now. So here's what the new hub mount will actually look like. As you can see, those grooves are much, much deeper in there, so you get a lot more purchase on the actual hub mount itself. And the locking device inside there is actually a fairly thick bar, so you're absolutely not going to have a steering wheel slip off on you. And that'll be nice and safe for us, so we don't have to worry about losing the steering wheel mid-race. This is much better than that version. That's a very old version of a quick release steering wheel. I don't even know if they sell that anymore. If they do, they shouldn't. So now that we've got that steering shaft off of there, let's get down to the nitty-gritty dirty part and get the whole thing blown off, get all the bearings blown out. This makeshift catch can out of my way. This actually did amazing for the season that I needed it for, but we've got a custom one coming that's going to be made out of aluminum. It's going to be a lot better, a lot safer. If the engine blows up, it's actually going to be able to fit the entire contents of the engine for oil. If I get lucky enough that it doesn't break the block when the engine goes. So, that was our Royal Purple catch can. It did wonderful for the season, but we're making upgrades. Safety upgrades and appearance upgrades. Now that we've got most of the chunky dirt blown off of everything, I am going to get this chain off of here and see if I can figure out if it's the axle that's bent or the jack shaft that's bent, or maybe there's just a bearing that's off a little bit. Hopefully we can figure it out, and hopefully that'll get us one step closer to that chain staying on for the entire season. I will set you guys up for a time lapse, get that chain off, and check back with you when it's out of there. That's our chain. We'll get that dunked in some oil. I think it'll like that. Got gold chains, bro. Okay, so what I've done here is rigged up a dial indicator touching the sprocket. I've cleaned the sprocket off as best as I could. There's a little bit of dirt on there, so that'll account for a couple thou. But we're actually seeing a fair bit of movement here, so I'm starting to begin to think the axle is bent. I will show you guys what that looks like right now. As you can see, the number climbs there quite a bit and then starts to drop off as if either the sprocket is warped or the axle is bent. So to determine which one of the two that is, we're going to put the dial indicator on the axle itself and see if the axle is walking back and forth. If it is, we might have to find a new chunk of axle. So now what I've done is put the dial indicator on the smoothest part of the sprocket up and down that I could find, and we will see how much it's moving. So we're definitely getting a little bit of movement there for sure. We roll it back. Looks like we spike up to about 25 thou. Thank you guys for watching this far in the video. Just reviewing that footage while I've been editing this video, I don't believe that's enough movement in that axle to actually be knocking that chain off. However, if you think different, let me know down in the comments. I'm not super knowledgeable about these types of things. I've never really raced this type of thing before I got into lawnmower racing, so I'm not sure how much movement in a sprocket it actually takes to start kicking a chain off. I'm still leaning towards the track is what's pulling the chain off, and hopefully a smaller rear sprocket will fix that for us. If you liked what you saw in this video, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, and if you think your friends will like it too, hit the share button. Thank you guys for supporting. With that, I'm out. One more thing before I go. Cleaning montage. Glad I got that on camera. Glad I got that on camera. We got her jacked back up, put back on the stand. Let's get her out of the way. Okay, sweep up.